This is Senator Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor today. The Senate was back in session after the MLK holiday weekend. Hear what the senator from Kentucky has to say.
Last week, our Democrat colleagues briefly paused their quest to destroy the Senate's 60-vote threshold, just long enough to use the 60-vote threshold themselves to block a bill. Every Republican supported sanctioning the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that will give Russia even more leverage to bully Europe. Most of our Democratic colleagues bowed to the furious lobbying from the Biden administration to protect Putin's pipeline. There were 55 votes to pass the bill.
Oh, why the fuck do we have any
Ukrainian President
say in what Germany and Russia do?
Passed. But Democrats blocked it by denying 60. Now, many of these same colleagues have spent weeks thundering, literally thundering, that the Senate's 60-vote threshold is an offensive tool of obstruction, a Jim Crow relic.
What Martin Luther King Jr. thought.
Should always get their way. But late last week, they literally wielded the 60-vote threshold themselves. A useful reminder of just how fake the hysteria has been. We already knew Washington Democrats don't have any principled opposition to Senate rules. Democrats repeatedly filibustered the CARES Act in March of 2020 while insisting on changes. Democrats filibustered and killed Senator Tim Scott's police reform bill. You only have to go back a few years to read vigorous defense of the filibuster from our Democratic colleagues.
As you were changing it to confirm judges.
Democratic whip Senator Durbin put it this way: we need to protect the right of debate in the Senate, preserve checks and balances so that no one party can do whatever it wants.
Don't do the thing we did. Don't use the same carve out we used in order to get our judges.
The Democratic
Unfortunately, he's still alive.
We need to, quote, find a way to
still alive and still the majority leader.
Filibuster. Build a firewall around the legislative filibuster. And in a letter that same year by 32 Senate Democrats, our colleagues demanded...
No, it's fine, it's fine.
...that the 60-vote threshold...
Turtles live for a very long time, yes.
So until the last couple of years, senators on both sides have understood the Senate is not here to rubber stamp massive changes by thin majorities. This institution exists to do exactly the opposite, to make sure major laws receive major buy-in and have major staying power. And historically, Democratic allies outside this chamber have recognized.
But now we have a political party which will not budge on anything.
15 years ago, when Republicans controlled the Senate, a left-wing organization called the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights published a lengthy...
So many of them need to retire. Most of the Senate needs to retire.
Including, listen to this, including its relationship to civil rights. So here's what they had to say when Republicans were in the majority here in the Senate. On behalf of the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, the nation's oldest, largest, and most diverse civil and human rights coalition.
I can't make it any further. He wanted to talk about that. He says tyranny of the majority sometime in this. I hear this a lot from right-wingers, especially when you talk about democracy, and they're like, we're not a democracy. A democracy is a tyranny of the majority. Good friend Jake Jacobs, who apparently I'm still going to get to go on his show. He has responded back and said he is indeed going to have me on. Those of you who may be new and don't know about Jake, he is a right-wing nut job, far-right, evangelical. Every single one of his shows is like, the woke mob is coming for your kids. The woke mob is ruining Halloween. The socialist Marxist takeover, blah, blah, blah. I called him the fake outrage show. And he was supposed to have me on for his 100th episode, but he added me as a friend on Facebook, and then I took him to school on everything he posted. So then he deleted me. But he talks about the woke mob. The woke mob. That's how he describes democracy. But if you're against the tyranny of the majority, then that would mean you're for the tyranny of the minority. You want a minority of people to make the decisions. Weird that it just so happens to be rich, crusty old white conservative people that are the majority of that minority. See how that works? You're protecting your own interests. Tyranny of the majority is a fucking bullshit term. You're afraid of popular governance because your views aren't popular. And I've argued so many times that it is in the best interest of everybody to have the government represent the people. Or you see what happens. You see the distrust in government, how we're not able to respond to pandemics, to natural disasters. It's insane to me. Rich conservative assholes and their propaganda campaign against popular legislation. This is old lady Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, on with Sean Hannity last night. He's got a folksy way of describing it.
Number one, the Biden administration's effort to
I'm not high enough for this shit.
Vote threshold in the United States Senate is not about a Senate that doesn't work. It's about a woke agenda that doesn't sell. Getting rid of the 60 vote threshold in the Senate, in my judgment, would be like giving whiskey and car keys to a teenage boy. Number one, the Biden administration's effort to get rid of the 60 vote threshold in the United States Senate is not...
That's all that was. That's all that fucking was. They just speak in sound bites. This asshole thinks he's a goddamn stand-up comedian and comes up with this shit that he thinks is gonna be a zinger. Goes on Tucker and Hannity and Ingram to get his zingers out. Fuck you, Kennedy. Reason why they gotta attack the woke mob and popular movements is because they ain't popular with the younger generations. America's youth turn left. This is the hopeful graph I'm showing you. I'm getting ready to show you one that's gonna make you have to piss and vomit a little, in the words of West Virginia Governor Jim Justice. U.S. presidential election party preference among voters age 18 to 29. You see this huge chasm here. 60% Democrat to 36% Republican. Gen Xers have always been a swing voting group, but their kids, Gen Z, sometimes called Zoomers, overwhelmingly back Democrats. Because what does the Republican Party have to offer them? Their economic policy does not help us in any fucking way. The only policy that they actually have that they are effective at is attacking gay people, trans rights, stupid culture war bullshit. The woke mob is coming for his hairline. The woke mob already got my hairline, bitches. They're rich. How do they live so long? They're rich. There seems to be this correlation between wealth and living a long time, if you guys haven't noticed. Generational replacement will not be kind to Trump's Republican Party. According to John Della Volpe, the polling director at the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics and CEO of Social Sphere. Hey, and 53% turnout rate. You can see the turnout rate among this age group. Holy shit, it dipped in the 90s, shot up. This is when I was incredibly involved in politics for the first time in my life. This area right here got the fuck up. Takes a lull during Obama. Everybody went back to brunch for a little bit. Now it is shot back up. So Della Volpe says 5 events shaped this rising bloc. The Occupy Wall Street, millennial-led discussions about inequality became political drivers as Zoomers came of age. Donald Trump, the Parkland, Florida high school shooting, and the March for Our Lives movement. 17-year-old Darnella Fraser's use of her iPhone to record the murder of George Floyd, and Greta Thunberg's climate strike. That hella sick aesthetic, thank you. I think Walsh described it as a wicked sick aesthetic. I appreciated that. Now here's the chart that's gonna make you go, ooh, ooh. The GOP has surged as Biden's poll numbers have slid. The percentage of Americans who identify or lean to the Republican or Democratic Party has almost flipped. That is not good here in this 2022 midterm election cycle. One of the reasons why I'm worried we're already going to have a low turnout. It's usually not favorable to the party that is in power. I mean, Joe Biden's only fucking hope is something that's kind of out of his control. Is what happens with the pandemic. Do we get a new variant that rips through the country? If so, we're going to still see empty shelves. We're going to see inflation because the supply chains aren't going to be able to get products to people. And ultimately, that's all the fucking baby boomers give a shit about, right? Being able to consume. I'm sorry, RD. I always pick on your generation. But if they can't buy their favorite whatever at the fucking store, they get really upset about it. And for some reason blame Biden, which I want to know how he even has control over these things. As we've talked about on this show, what is slim staffing in the supply chain, having just enough workers to be able to fill all the slots. Shipping things at the very last moment in order to maximize profit. That's the reason why we've had supply chain issues when we've seen a disruption because of a pandemic. So if the pandemic clears up in the spring and the summer and the economic indicators actually start shooting back up, that might actually play into the Democrats' favor. That is the only hope they have going into November. And that's a big fucking if. And what would they need to do in order to ensure that the pandemic ends? Vaccine equity. And they ain't going to do that. They're going to protect the profits of Pfizer and Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. Because that's what Joe Biden was elected to do. It's more than half of your generation, RB. It's more than half. I'm sorry. It's not my generation. I've shown you the charts.